right, Hoops Nation, and welcome to another episode of the Road to Muni podcast. It's that time of year. It was a crazy week, a lot of fun. I don't know if you got a chance to watch any basketball this week and went away from it not enjoying yourself. There's probably no hope for you. I'm telling you that right now, Coach. It's that time of year where we're starting to turn into where teams play each other for a second time and we're at that time where it kind of just turns into a madhouse. It really is a madhouse, is the best way to explain it, because you have upsets, you have teams that just, maybe you beat a team by 20 or 30 the first time around, and then you turn around and lose to them the second time. It just kind of, that second time playing somebody just seems like it's a completely different beast at this level.
Yeah, it is. And you have some teams with desperation mode kicking in, right? And you also have some teams where maybe they've kind of realized they don't have a lot to play for, so the pressure's off, right? And then they're playing somebody that with the pressure's on, right? They're trying to close out a conference title. And so yeah, there's psychological factors, there's emotional, there's everything in between. So it's definitely a fun time of year, and we saw some pretty cool games. Some people get on the ropes that shouldn't have been on the ropes, right? Based on the numbers, and some pretty cool games. So
And that's why they play the games, I guess, too.
yeah,
Sometimes those outcomes aren't what you think, but that's why they play the games. And maybe a game we probably didn't realize the outcome was going to be like this just because of the 28-point win. But number one, Grace going to Iowa, number five, and quite frankly, doing what most people don't do at Iowa, and that is just going there and completely dominating a Wildcat team that's always pretty good inside Lucky Arena. In my opinion, I think that Elijah Malone probably put an explanation point maybe on National Player of the Year. He looked like the best player in the country for sure against number five Indiana Wesleyan.
yeah, he did, and like you said, that doesn't happen very often in terms of going into anybody's arena, frankly. But when you're talking about two teams of that caliber going over there and getting the win, Grace is really looks the part right now. And sometimes you see teams, you say, I just don't know who could beat them. And right now, I don't know who could beat them.
Yeah,
There's probably a couple of those other teams we've talked about, the Langstons and people like that probably could say the same thing about, right? There's two or three teams right now you could say, who knows if they played each other? I'm not sure either of them would lose, but one of them's going to have to. So
yeah. Well, if they get to that point for sure. Langston, did suffer their first loss of the year to a very good SAGU team. I've been on the
yeah,
SAGU hype train for the entire season. I just think Dalton Deal is a heck of a coach, and what he does year in and year out is just really really good. And I think they defended. They play the best defense they've played all year round, and some of that was attributed to Langston just missing shots too. Langston doesn't usually, they most people know him as a defensive team, but they also are pretty efficient offensively, and they just couldn't hit anything on that game, and that'll get you beat, against good teams.
yeah,
First, so
yeah. No, and I personally I don't get too worked up about one loss. What are they, 20-1 at this point or something like that? They have stamped their way to a really great season, and people are going to get clipped. It's really hard to go undefeated in college basketball, so I don't think we'll see too much overreaction to one loss in particular to a good team. Um, there's other teams too. We're going to talk to somebody here shortly, I think, that was on the ropes yesterday too against a, first place, last place matchup. And it was a, whatever, 3-point game, 4-point game, something like that, in Roosevelt versus Trinity Christian. And, yeah, I'm intrigued to figure out how you may talk about this, not to steal your thunder, but you tell me how the GPAC is going to land. And I'd love to see that. They got a five-way
yep.
tie right now for first.
That was
So
on my list of my
yeah,
things to talk about here. You know, it, first off, kudos to Concordia, Nebraska. Turn around, big week for them, winning at number 19 Morningside, and then turn around shorthanded actually, turn around and won against number 12 or number 13 Northwestern. Those two wins. Yeah, and then Dort kind of trending upwards, made it a five-way tie with those two, Morningside, Northwestern, and Hastings, all a five-way tie for first place. And what a lot of people don't understand is we have 6 games left of the season. So, I know there's probably some people in the conference that are hoping that they don't have to figure out those tiebreakers, but we're kind of at that point of year now where we're starting to figure out. I'm starting to look in the bylaws and all that to try to figure out what
Yeah.
tiebreakers are going to outweigh the other tiebreaker, and just kind of a crazy time of year for sure. And the GPAC is maybe the craziest conference in the NEI right now.
Yeah, between that and we've talked about it before, but the Sun, I don't mean to keep going back to it, but the Sun is another one where you saw whatever Saturday. I mean, Southeastern gave it to Ave at home. They're at home, but I mean, it's another conference where it's like, what's going to happen there, right? You just don't know. I don't think until the very end. So
Yeah, and for the most part, it's just really good basketball being played right now. I mean that's the one thing that I think that gets lost in all this. I mean, there's a lot of close games, obviously, but like I do feel like turning into February and March, for the most part, most of the top tier teams, top tier, but also like the top teams in the eye are playing really good basketball right now. And
yep, no, it really does. So I think Coach Moore was talking about that last week too, just how many quality teams and quality players and quality coaches there are, and it's going to be probably one of the better tournaments I think in recent memory in terms of just depth of the field, and it's going to be dangerous if you're one of those top seeds to make it through. So
yeah, I'd say fun for us, but
yeah,
those short scouts, even the opening round games are gonna be tough. But then you got the short scouts to turn around and having to face somebody that you're gonna probably see for the first time live in that opening round game, and then you got to turn around and play them the next day. So, yeah, always makes for some good basketball. But I know that enough to be able to talk to two top 10 teams in the NEI, or certainly going to be top 10, maybe in Dee Brown from Roosevelt to Danny Bostwick from Oakwoo as well. So, without further ado, we'll go into our coaches conversation. First up is Dee Brown from. Joining us first for our coaches conversation here is Coach Donnie Bostwick from Oklahoma Wesleyan University. And Coach, I know the we talk about a lot on the podcast. I just want to preface this that sustained success is a very, very big deal, and it shows how good of a coach and program you're running, and that's something you guys have been able to do, is just have some sustained success. But welcome to the Road to Muni podcast, and glad to have you on.
I'm blessed to be here. Yeah, hopefully, hopefully we can keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, I know. And speaking of rolling, I mean, the KCAC. We'll start off there. Always a good league, and we talk about some of these leagues are just so gigantic, and it just kind of adds to the long season. Maybe is the proper word to say that. You want to talk about the KCAC and give the folks that maybe don't know much about it. Being a deep conference and playing so many league games, what it means to have to show up night in, night out.
Yeah, when I was at Oakwoo the first time, '07 to 11, we were in a different conference with College of Ozarks and Bellevue being the other two key pins. But when I was gone down to SAGU for 6 years, that conference dissolved, and Oklahoma Wesleyan joined the KCAC. Over that time period, I think the thing that really changed everything was they had restrictions on scholarships and stuff prior to that. They removed those restrictions, added Oklahoma Wesleyan and some other schools, the latest being Evangel. And when they did that, it took a year or two for the teams to kind of become a league that had the scholarship opportunities to compete at another level. I think take our league to another level. With the additions of another team of Evangel, we chose this year not to play everybody twice for the first time, so that way we could maintain. Whenever they took 2 games away from us, I was not real happy. But we wanted to maintain 6 non-conference games so we could at least try to strengthen our strength of schedule and everything outside of it and things. So the league, since I've been in it, this is my 7th year here now in the league. It just continues to get better. We've had the transition from Division II to Division I division. We've also had during the time in the COVID crisis and all of that, as we shifted gears. But in that time period, we've had two national players of the year come out of our league. We've had 5 teams in a tournament at one point, which is really unheard of for the KCAC. When I got here, it was two automatic scenarios. Everybody knew we were going to get 2. That's all they expected to get in. We kind of changed that thought process, started having some success. Bethel really stepped up. Southwestern's really stepped up. Kansas Wesley and Ottawa. There's been, a number of those teams now. Obviously, Evangel's a tournament team year in, year out. So it's been good to see some outside the conference success, playing against the GPAC and the Heart and the Sooner Athletic. Those three conferences around our area are the ones we primarily play against non-conference.
Yeah, and I'll say a big one coming up this week, but carrying a 13 game win streak going in and jumping into some of your players. I know you were talking about some of the good players in the league, but I think you got some of the top ones in the league as well. With got Jay Leifsky, the reigning KCAC Player of the Year, and even Caleb Stokes, who has been All American in his career, and then you got the I don't want to say emergence because he was so good last year, but I do think he's a more complete player this year in DJ Talton Jr. I think he's one of maybe our favorite guard in the country. I know we try not to be too biased, but just so much fun to watch DJ play and watching how much he's grown over the last couple of years.
Yeah, obviously, I may be the worst coach in America because that Jaden Lesky's freshman year, I'm playing his brother and Val. I mean, two good players. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't play him as much as he made an incredible jump and just did an amazing job in the weight room. And he was coming from a 2A team in high school that had a COVID, but they won a state championship. He had all kinds of potential, but I just hadn't played two bigs together. Looking back, I wish I'd have probably got him more playing time his freshman year. But his jump he made that second year, was unbelievable. But at the same time, I think that was connected to DJ coming in. Everybody, Carl Malone needed John Stockton, and so DJ just he's a making those lob passes, creating havoc, and getting to the paint and putting it on time, on target. And so I think last year he was way underrated. Coming as a freshman, what he did in his sophomore year, I thought he probably needed a little more love last year. But he's doing really well. Obviously, he's so unselfish, plays both ends of the floor, does a lot of great things for us, and just he's a almost a 4.0 almost a 4.0 student. Of course, my dog is going to have a little fun here. I got the grand dogs tonight.
Get him on screen.
Responded to
Get him
you
on
too.
screen.
But those two guys that Caleb Stokes, is another guy that kind of is right there. He's went through some injuries, hurt his ankle, and a couple years ago, and then hurt his wrist, broke his wrist, and played through that. So he's got some scar tissue issues, and it bothers him a little bit on his shooting and stuff. But he still does so many great things for us. He's not quite, I think sometimes offensively as good as he was a couple years ago, but he's a great third fiddle, put it that way.
Mhm. Yeah, great option to have there as well. And I know you guys are deep too, and you guys play a style that requires you guys to play a lot of guys as well. You want to maybe I just think that you guys are so good defensively and really get after it and get a. I imagine you guys. I don't know if you guys track your tips, but I gotta be. If there was a national statistic on tip balls, I would think that you guys probably are up there. You want to talk about a little bit about you guys defensively and what you guys do pressure wise?
Well, it's kind of funny. I think we ranked like 211 in free throw percentage and 206 in 3-point percentage. So we got to play some D to have a chance. We're going to the Baltimore Ravens back when they weren't real good on offense and they were finding ways to win still Super Bowl. So that's at least our hope anyway. But we have our nights where we can shoot it. I think we're clicking at times, getting a little better in that area. I always try to say, we want to really focus on defense early and offense will catch up by March. So yeah, we do a lot of defensive charts and kind of keep our own defensive stats and reward our guys for having success and deflections. Is one of those. Just there's a lot of little ones there that we do getting over screens, wall ups. Um, just a lot of little things that I think create. You're going to do what you celebrate. Offensive rebound, we celebrate that. We always celebrate the defensive hustle plays. And whenever you focus on nothing but making shots and dunks, then that's great because that's pretty much warm ups. We're focused on the game.
Yeah.
I talked earlier this year when we were watching one of your games about the rebounding piece, right? The offensive rebounding piece. I mean, you guys are are dogs on the on the offensive glass. I mean, I think you're number one in the country in that area, and that and steals, right? And those two ingredients. I mean, you're winning possessions, and the more
Yeah,
chances you have the ball, you can get away with shooting a little bit lower percentage there, coach, because you got it twice as much as the other side. It seems like so.
I think they know. That's one thing that just all effort, working hard, giving ourselves a chance on those nights we're not shooting well. Defensive field goal percentage, your goal is that, but then there's nights that some teams are just going to hit those threes, and so on those nights you're not hitting. I think offensive rebounding stills. You just don't let them shoot. We got to
Yeah.
trap. We got to get some tips. We got to create some havoc here. And I try to recruit defensive players of the year out of conferences and things like that in high school, which I think are overlooked sometimes. I think I've had 5 of those that turned into national players of the year that weren't really looked at in high school because everybody's looking at those scores. DJ was one of those guys. I could go through a stretch of guys, Isaac Rowe. I mean, I had some really special players. Dominic Rambo. I mean, just they couldn't shoot up really well coming out of high school, so they were overlooked. They were a little small. They were undersized at the inside or outside, but they just caused havoc and a lot of character, a lot of high motor, tough guys who they just give you a chance every night. On the road they don't care. They really play with heart and passion and so that's
Talk a little bit thinking about recruiting. I've asked a bunch of coaches this. Just kind of talk about what makes sense for you guys and for your program. Everybody's different, but if I'm a high school kid or I'm maybe a transfer or a family and I'm sitting here going, who's this Coach Bostwick? What's he all about? And what am I going to get at Oklahoma Wesleyan when I'm part of the university and part of the program? What's the message there?
I mean, you have to be a fit. I mean, we don't have a transfer on our team right now, which is kind of unique
Yeah.
in the world today. Not that we are intentional about that, but we just like if I can find those. There's a lot of high school kids getting overlooked now because of the transfer portal and because of COVID, kind of took away some of the scholarships. So I think we're getting those really high potential high school kids and then developing them in our program. And I'm not afraid to play a freshman. If I get him to play like a sophomore by Christmas, then I got him 3 more years, and we had some of them for 4 with COVID. So that was a nice stretch for us, honestly, because a lot of times we're just we'll have those 4 older guys, 5 maybe, and then my bench is young guys. And if I just had 2 more older guys, when we run into that, like last year, Ottawa, Arizona had like 8 25-year-olds, and they were just mature. It was a good game. It was, we led with 6 minutes left, but whether you run into that team or a really old team, sometimes that younger team, just the bench depth and some of that can't quite get it done. So right now we got an older group of starter, 5 guys, and then I've got a younger group that's talented coming off the bench, and can we get it done? When it really counts at the end in March with like I said, those teams that play all the older transfers and everything, we'll find out. But I do think we got a nice team, and as I'm looking for players, I mean, it's all about Jesus for us. We do mission trips, FCA, devotions, chapel. He's if you want to talk about those players, like I was the only coach offering DJ a scholarship. I was the only coach offering Dominic Rambo a scholarship. Like those guys were not highly recruited, and so Brandon Coles. I mean, those guys are coming in. Sadio Rojas. I can tell you the schools he was denied by. You'd be like, wow. Those guys passed on him because he was a 6'3" 4-man. And I think he just retired in Spain, making a lot of money and playing in the Euro and won a D-League championship and did a lot of great things at 6'3". If he was 6'6", he would have been in the NBA. But I think, if you're going to come here, you got to understand, like, we do it a little different, when it comes to like I said, we've been to Africa and Asia and the Dominican Republic and Bahamas the last couple trips, and every other year we'll go in-state. Like went to Alaska last year and did some camps and villages and stuff. But just try to really, approach it like 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 we talk about. We break huddle. 1, 2, 3, preach. Like we're worshiping on the court. We're really playing to give God glory, and I mean, that's just how we do it. And if you come in and you don't want to set into that environment, and, I've had a couple guys that, say yes on the way in because they want to play for a winner, and then, they don't stay after a year or two, and they've been really good. And usually it's kind of addition by subtraction sometimes because you got to buy into what we're about, and that's what we're about.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and you talk about success on and off the floor, and you guys have had some success in the national tournament, and reaching Kansas City, and obviously this team's a little bit older and has some experience, not just playing in Kansas City, but winning some of those tournament games. You want to maybe talk about, I know you've been a part of a lot the NEI for a while, so maybe what the new format, if you had any new philosophies now with the opening round games, and then having to wait a week to go in. It's not the 32 best teams going to one spot now. It's just this final 16 teams, and maybe if you change philosophy, or if you just approach it one game at a time, and then see. We were talking earlier, and maybe you can address this part too. But we were talking about earlier, how deep the NEI is, and now when you have seeing a team for the first time, and then having a short scout, maybe what goes into some of that work too.
I'd say you have to constantly adapt. I could say all the way back 30 years ago, and then 20 years ago, and 10, and I could work my way up to how things have changed and everything just to get in. Used to, you had to buy wins, and some teams that have 10 home games in non-conference, and they're all cupcakes, and then they get in that way. When we're playing two or three D2s and everything else, and have a 19 win season, and some guy gets in, like I said, playing some school three times at home. And so you had to adjust and find a way to get in, because if you can't win it if you don't get in. So, now strength of schedule, RPI, hopefully that's changing, and evolving a little bit. I would say, as far as the 32 team tournament, I'm old school. I'm not gonna lie. I wish, if we're going to do something like we are right now, I wish we would do like a one round to highest seed, and then now 32 teams go to the national tournament. And at that point, one plays 32, or however they want to do that. But it's just not the same. You have to have an equal playing field. And right now, like we played at a neutral site last year, Ottawa, Arizona, in Wichita at 2 p.m., and it cost $20 for our students to get in. So it was an empty gym. And you look at Indiana Wesleyan at Georgetown, you look at Southwestern at Langston, like packed house. I mean, if we're at our place, I take our chances. So it wasn't an equal playing field. A couple years ago, I think it was Montana Tech went to Sagu, the 3 seed. Like, I mean, that's just not it's not the same playing field for everybody. So, I know money's always involved, and you have to deal with that. I've been on the selection committee, and I know how, we sat there for 4 hours setting up 1 through 64, and then the next morning we come in and the NEI's changed everything around to kind of make sure the flights are set up and all that, and so I'm just you got to beat whoever you play. You got to beat them wherever you play. A couple years ago, we were one play away from the Final Four. Thomas, a really good team. Thomas More beat us on the last play, and travel or a trip. It was called a travel. So we're close. In one division. I played back in the day when there were 600 NAIA teams, and I just missed Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman in our league, and we were set number 4 and fixing to host with the Dunkel rating, and I was at John Brown. And we lose a game at Oklahoma Wesleyan, who was down low, and we dropped our Dunkel all the way to ninth and didn't even make the tournament because one team came out of your region, period. And so we actually won the Christian College National Tournament, beat the Masters, Malone, and Bethel, 3 ranked teams that did the same thing, didn't make the national tournament. So it was hard to win back when there were 600 teams. And some of the legends, we're talking, goodness gracious, some of those guys, Gracie's got a run going now, but Jim had it going back then and won it. You could, what Danny Miles did the last few years before he retired is mind blowing, to be honest with you. Like, he'd already had success and he just took it to another level. Pretty cool story, testimony, when he found Christ and just took it to another level was pretty insane. But I grew up going to camps with Dan Hayes at Oklahoma Christian and Bob Hoffman at Oklahoma Baptist. And so I grew up in NEIA basketball and always wanted to be filling those guys' shoes. So I just had a dream come true. Got to play for another legend, John Sheehy, and through that time get to know the Rocky Lamars and Steve, up Jenkins, up at Evangel. These are all my heroes. And so to be able to even like get to coach against a few of those guys before they got out of the business and stuff is just a dream come true.
Well, Coach, I know you don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse here, but I know you guys are playing some good basketball. I'm sure it'll continue. I would think that you're probably a lock for the national tournament this year, but I know no matter what happens here on out, we wish you guys the best of luck, and I appreciate you guys coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, last year, a couple of injuries late. You never know. So, like, you just play every game one at a time. Southwestern is going to be obviously a fun one. We've been going back and forth, seems like, for 6 or 8 years now. And he does a great job. It's just good to have great competition in your league, prepares you. I think the teams that really advance far have to play through some valleys and challenges, and we're pretty excited about where we're sitting right now. But we still got some tough games to play, 7 more games to play, and I just appreciate what you guys do for the NEI with this. This has been great, and that's much needed. I just appreciate you guys, man. Thanks.
Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good luck, Coach. We'll
Appreciate
be
you.
tracking you.
Hey, thanks.
Really appreciate both coaches coming on. It was awesome to see, or awesome to hear from both coaches, both in the top 15 in the country and trending upwards. I feel like both teams are playing really good basketball right now. But Coach, I know, like we mentioned to start off the show, we had a ton of great games this past week, and I think that, like we said, the games mean so much more down the stretch here that we're going to see a lot of games here this next week mean a lot too. And one of those crazy GPAC games that we had mentioned, or the GPAC conference, we're going to get a first place Dort at first place Concordia on Monday, right around tonight here after this is done, or after this loads. But should be a great game on Monday night. That league right now with 5 teams in first place is got a lot to work out. So we'll know a little bit more tomorrow, obviously, after those two play each other. But certainly that doesn't mean that whoever wins that game or whoever even loses that game certainly is not out of the mix. So a lot to be done and figured out left in that conference. Looking down the schedule here, we got some big games on Wednesday. Again, I think a game that maybe circle that could be a little bit low key, Coach, is a Cornerstone team, and Kim Elders has got his boys playing some great basketball. He always seems to have his guys playing good. Coming late in the year, you guys can all say hi to my dog poking over to my shoulder here. But Cornerstone plays Lords, so it should be a great game there. And then you keep going down, and a team well, Southeastern Florida had a big win this past weekend. Can they keep it going against the Kaiser team out in the sun? Another conference that has a lot to sort out still. So, and then you got St. Thomas Florida Memorial, a big game I think going on in the Sun Conference as well on Wednesday. And again, games Oklahoma Wesleyan Southwestern. We talked about. I talked to Coach earlier, and I think a top 10 matchup in the NEI. That should be a lot of fun as well. Everybody say hi to Kai here as he's coming in here. He obviously got out of his cage.
You heard Coach's dog earlier, so he's coming on.
But no, a lot of good games on Wednesday, a lot of good games on Saturday again. Should be another really, really fun week in the NEI. Another really fun week in the NEI. But until next week, this is Coach Leberson Jr. signing off.